During the February 21st morning PD session, we started to go through some of the basics of Pear assessment, which was formerly known as Edulastic. So this video is just going to review some of the things we went over last time just as a refresher or in case you missed that session. Just as a reminder, to actually access Pear assessment, you're going to do that through Canvas. So go ahead and you would go ahead and log into your Canvas account and then go to any of your courses. On the left-hand blue navigation menu, you're going to locate Edulastic. They have not updated that to say Pear assessment. I'm not sure when they will. I assume they will at some point, but you'll click on this Edulastic link right here. If you do not see Edulastic, then you need to fix that in your navigation. You would do that by going to Settings, clicking the Navigation tab, and then just pulling Edulastic up from the bottom here. And then don't forget to click Save down at the bottom. So from your Canvas course, you're going to go ahead, click Edulastic. It's going to log you in to your Pear assessment dashboard. You should see your classes in these little tiles up at the top. If you don't for some reason, then it is likely that your account still needs to be linked with your Canvas. Just like Canvas and Skyward, Canvas and Edulastic talk to each other in a similar way. So your, Pear assessment. So your Pear assessment will be rostered through your Canvas and the courses should be the same. If for some reason you don't see your courses, it's possible that up at the top right here, you might see a sync with Canvas button. Or if you don't see that, or maybe you notice one of your courses is missing, on the left-hand navigation menu over here, you can always go to Manage Class. And then up at the top right, there will be a Sync with Canvas button, and you can always go through and resync your Pear assessment with Canvas that way, or add a course that was missing. Our big focus with Pear assessment during last session was how to locate materials that already exist. In Pear assessment, there are full assessments that already exist, and there are also assessment items, so like quiz, test, questions. Anything that is already in Pear was either created by Pear in partnership with, maybe the state of Indiana for iLearn, or it was actually created by another educator who uses the platform. Because of that, the pre-created materials in Pear are not going to be all-encompassing. There is some really great stuff that already exists. However, you're not always going to be able to find everything you are looking for. So the focus of the next session is going to be how to actually build a test and create some of your own materials. But to review last time, we're going to look at how to find what already exists out there so you can hopefully take some things and use them for yourself or repurpose them. So from your dashboard, over on the left here, you're going to see this navigation menu, and we're going to be focusing on the library portion, specifically the item bank and the test link here. So the item bank is where you're going to locate individual assessment items according to different criteria, maybe grade level, subject, standard set. You can look for different keywords and tags. You can also do the same thing with tests. This is where you're going to find full assessments that have multiple questions. And again, you can search them according to a variety of criteria. Let's start with the item bank. So when you click item bank, depending on your Pear settings, it might already have some filters pre-applied for you. So as you can see, what I'm looking at right now, it's filtered for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. It has the other subject filters because this is a business course. There's not a business specific filter. And you can also see that it is filtered for the Indiana Principles of Marketing Standards. So this has a lot of really specific filters on it. And you might be looking at this and thinking, oh, great, there's a ton of questions that are matching all those filter items. However, if you take a look, all of these questions here were actually authored by one of our CHS teachers. So these are actually her questions that she's created for Pear. This is not what other educators might have created that exist out there. So, in order to search for new items that another educator has created, I always recommend clicking the clear all up at the top left for the filters. It's just going to give you a fresh start so you can apply the filters you specifically want. I also want to let you know that while there are a lot of different standard sets preloaded into Pear, that doesn't necessarily mean that the educator that created a question has aligned the question to that standard set. So don't just rely on looking up very specific filters. So I'm going to show you a few different things that might happen while you're looking up pre-existing questions. So I might know that I want to look up some science questions. And you can see as soon as I apply that filter, it is going to give me a variety of science questions that were created by other Edulastic users. Some of these you'll see are Pear Assessment certified. Those are likely questions that were created by Pear Assessment with partnership for maybe a testing company for things like iLearn and other state tests. You can also add standard sets. For science, the NGSS standards are in here. You can also, search for different standards. I always try to look for Indiana specific standards. However, you might not want to always limit yourself to that because the topics that are taught from content area to content area, they're the same in different states. So again, don't just rely on one specific standard set. However, you can always, try it out and see what you get. Right now, I'm really just going to do science here. And then maybe I will search by a tag or search by skills and keywords. That kind of just helps filter, just like Google does, right? It will limit your search options. So let's say I want to look up the periodic table. And now that I've applied that filter, I can see a variety of different questions that mention the periodic table. To then view one of those questions, I can click on it or I can click the view icon here. So now I have this question. It says label the periodic table. This is a drag and drop question. So it's actually giving you an image of the periodic table and you have to drag and drop the different categories into the periodic table. I always recommend that when you're looking at a pre-created answer, that you actually show the answer to make sure that it's programmed correctly. And I would make sure that you don't just blindly add pre-existing test questions to your test. We're going to be going over next time how to copy them so that you can edit them and make them your own. But this is how you would view that question. I highly recommend that if you didn't get the chance to do so before, play around with some of the filters here, keeping in mind you might not always find exactly what you're looking for because these assessment questions were created by other educators. Also, if you get too specific with your filters, sometimes you might not find exactly what you're looking for because you're relying on another person to have added all the correct information to a question. For example, just like this one we looked at before, it's a really great question. kids are labeling the periodic table. However, if you look down below here, this teacher does not have this question aligned to a standard. There's no depth of knowledge here. There are no tags here. So if you got really specific with your filters, you might not find it. I always recommend doing a little searching by a keyword and see what you find. It's something that you'll get used to how you like to search it. The other thing that I want to remind you guys about is how to search for a full pre-existing test in Pear. So to do that, you would navigate your left-hand menu again and go to Test. These are going to be full assessments that have multiple questions, but you are going to use the filters in the same way. So you can still filter by skills and keywords, grade level, subject, standard set, etc. If you have a bunch of filters already showing up at the top, I highly recommend always clicking clear all with your filters so that you can have a fresh search, because maybe you're searching for a specific skill. So let's say again, I'm looking for science materials. I'm looking for a test over the periodic table. And you're going to see I'm going to get a lot of different options. I'm going to see the total number of items. I'm not going to be able to necessarily see the grade level or things like that. It all just depends on how people named their assessments. Some of them are named really generically, just periodic table. Some of them, I bet that 8.1.1 is probably a standard somewhere or something to do with a specific textbook. So you might have to look around a little bit. Looking for a full pre-created assessment is going to get a little tricky because there's going to be a lot of items in it. It's not as easy to preview. However, I still wanted to show you how to do this. So let's say you want to check out one of these assessments. In order to do that, you could just click on it, or you could hover over the top and click preview. Preview is automatically going to take you into this test in a student view mode, and you can click through the questions and see what it entails. This, we have a diagram where we're doing a drag and drop situation. You can skip through to any of the questions. You could click next up at the top, and you can see that there's a variety of different questions here. Once you've gotten the chance to look through the assessment, let's say you like a lot of it and you want to, possibly use it for your class, or you like a lot of the questions, but maybe you want to tweak one or two, delete one, change one, you would go ahead and click exit. And then from your list of assessments, if you click on this, instead of clicking preview or assign, you can click more, and this little menu is going to pop up. And you could go ahead and click clone. I always recommend clicking clone. Please do not click assign. It is going to assign this other teacher's version of the assessment, which means that if you are in the middle of giving this assessment, you will not be able to make any modifications to it because you don't own it. You are assigning someone else's test. I always recommend cloning an assessment or cloning an item so that way you own it and you can make modifications to it just in case.